IPMNation.com.
Hello, I'm sternly Andrew Heaton, and you're militantly watching Mostly Weekly at Ease. Today, I'd like to brief you on a little thing called defense spending. Actually, calling it a little thing is fantastically misleading. It's actually the biggest thing. The U.S. has the most powerful military in the world. In the 20th century, it defeated Germany twice, Korea kind of, and Vietnam not so much. It's the greatest force in the history of marching band music. That said, we're paying way more than we need to. How much do we pay? Come on. There are tank treads that cost more than that. 50 million? My God, you know how much these things cost? $1 billion. Okay, I can work with that. Multiply that by 20. Right, okay, now multiply that by 20. Great. Now add another 200 billion for good measure. Yes, what the financial indeed. We spend about $600 billion a year on the military, and it's set to go up to almost $700 billion next year. That's almost one whole turkey, or 30 billion turkeys. To put things in perspective, our defense budget is bigger than the next 8 largest world powers combined. It's hard to wrap your mind around just how big $600 billion is. Let's say that we cut the defense budget in half to $300 billion. It would still be 4 times larger than Russia's. And the money left over would be enough to buy every single American 2 iPads, or send a manned mission to Mars, or build a moon colony with its own Cracker Barrel, or send everyone in America a check for $900, except Kevin. So how did our military get so expensive? Through the military-industrial complex, first brought to our attention by whiny, limp-wristed beta male snowflake Dwight Eisenhower. Here's how it works. Defense contractors make money by selling tanks, planes, and other killy things to the military. They make money regardless of whether or not we need those tanks, planes, or killy things, or even if they work. So they deploy legions of lobbyists to Washington to convince Congress to buy them the N1 this, or the F-44 that, or my favorite, the V-3 Smellicopter. Meanwhile, Congress loves splurging on defense. Contractors provide jobs in their districts, which gets them reelected. A lot of the time, the Pentagon doesn't even want certain weapons, but Congress appropriates the budget for them anyway. It asked Congress to quit spending money on Super Hornet aircrafts, and it said a quarter of our bases serve no military purpose whatsoever. Nevertheless, Congress keeps appropriating funds. Republicans are constantly yammering about the budget, but if it involves a drone, a plane, or a killy thing, they toss money at it like it's a naked lady doing a naked lady dance at a naked lady dance place. It's like if you're buying a battleship, it magically doesn't add to the debt. So 2 plus 2 is 4, but if there's a tank, it weighs down the number weight, so it's actually 3. Even Bernie Sanders supports the F-35 jet program and fought tooth and nail to bring it to Vermont. Now, you might point out that if we're not safe, it doesn't matter how good our economy is, and I agree. In fact, one of the government's actual responsibilities is to provide for our common defense. But the budget is still subject to diminishing returns. For example, Russia spends about 10 times less than we do on defense. Does anybody really think Russia is at risk of getting invaded? Of course not. Ditto America. Plus, we've got a salty moat on either side of our country and friendly neighbors to the north and south. Our biggest threats right now are terrorists, Kevin Spacey, and sharks. We spend $150 billion a year to maintain 800 military bases in 80 other countries. At the end of the Cold War, we were only in 40. We have 200,000 active troops deployed in more than 170 countries. So if our biggest wars are over, why are we deployed so heavily, particularly in countries with trace amounts of shark or Kevin Spacey? Those bases give insurgents something to rally around and recruit with, and we pay a lot of money to stay in fill-in-the-blankistan, even though the fill-in-the-blankistanis hate us. Listen, I'm not anti-military. I have camo pajamas. I lost my virginity while watching Patton. But at some point, defending the nation just turns into crony capitalism with killy things. Squandering money for the sake of squandering money isn't patriotic, and it needs to be said.
We need to send a message to Washington. We need fiscal restraint. Spent 4 to 8 years complaining about all the cash we spend. Asking for your vote and money, we need limited government. About how these deficits are costing us $1 trillion a pop. But vote for me, I'll be as stingy as a GameStop. And then I got elected and took over DC, cutting back a CVS receipt. Now I'm keeping old programs and taking out loans. I'm scrapping spending caps and I'm cranking out drones. I'm adding more spending, I'm throwing a parade. My list is shovel ready, so is most of what I say. 'Cause I like it, I love it, I want some more of it. I talk a lot, it turns out I'm bluffing. Don't know what it is about the spending that I covet, but I like it, I love it, I want some more of it. Woo! Don't forget to turn off the lights.
Sequence starts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. Live on WMNH 95.3 FM in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. Streaming at WMNHradio.org. And on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, of course, where you can, that's one of the ways you can interact. Another way is to give us a call, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Today is Wednesday, April 10th, 2019. So I am live with you, but I'm not alone, of course, as he is omnipresent here in the studio. The ghost of John McCain is here as well.
I'm John McCain.
And let's see, we have in the Facebook live chat so far, let's see, I see Jenny in there. Hello. John Midas Manning, also known as DJ Midas, who has a show here on WMNH 95.3 every Saturday and Sunday night from midnight to 4 a.m. Late Night Delight. I recommend that. Check that out. Hello to Chris Rose, also on the Facebook. Hi, Chris. And let's see, well, as always, there are many, many things going on in the world, lots to discuss. But let's start with, I like to start with the really big story. If I were to pick the one thing everyone's talking about, here it is. According to lawandcrime.com, an Ohio woman with an alleged history of bestiality is now accused of robbing a bank. Yes. I guess she's not hanging out at the zoo anymore. She's been robbing banks. It says here, in a legal knot of canine proportions. I didn't write it, folks. I'm just reading it. A woman currently on probation for bestiality was charged with bank robbery on Monday in Ohio. According to local NBC affiliate WFMJ, 35-year-old Amber Finney was indicted by Trumbull County grand jury after allegedly knocking over a Chase bank back in February. Police say employees at the bank identified Finney as then woman who walked in. Law and Crime is one of those websites that really needs a proofreader before they post this stuff. All right, police say employees at the bank identified Finney. I'm going to self-edit this as I read it to you, so it actually makes some sense. As the woman then who had walked in and handed one of the tellers a note. That teller allegedly told police Finney was carrying a large purse, was wearing a hood to obscure her face, and said, quote, she did not want to hurt her. She also said, hey, got any dogs? I'm kidding. I made that last part up. The letter told authorities she explained to Finney that she could only dispense $1,000 at any given time. Finney apparently accepted the relatively small amount and then left the bank to meet a man standing in the parking lot, according to employee witnesses. Let's stop there for a moment. There's more to the story, but here's the thing. So I've never myself committed any crimes. Well, at least not knowingly. I mean, we all commit felonies and we don't even know. It's, there's even been books written about that. But I'm not an active criminal, but I have occasionally thought about, and I don't know what this says about me, I have thought about if I were to commit a certain crime, how would I go about it? If I thought I could get away with it and I didn't have any moral or ethical standards to adhere to, if I were to give myself over to a life of crime, how would I do certain things? Now, when it comes to bank robbery, I have thought about this, and I have a couple of thoughts. First of all, I don't know why anyone attempts to rob a bank. It's one of those crimes just nobody ever seems to get away with. And even if you get out of there with a big bag of money, you open the money and it squirts ink in your face. But also, too, if the bank can only give you $1,000 at a time, at that point, you're committed. You can't really say to the teller at that point, oh, never mind, I'm not going to rob this bank. You're already in trouble, so you might as well just take the $1,000 and, even though it's not really worth going to prison for, I would think. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's Pandora.
Pandora, how are you? Haven't heard from you in a while. Little air horn there, because we haven't heard from you. How are you? What's on your mind today, Pandora?
I was wondering if me and my friend could stop in real quick.
What? A little hard to hear you, honey. What'd you say?
I was wondering if me and my friend could stop in real quick.
If you could stop in real quick?
Yeah.
Sure, if you have an adult with you. Yeah, come on in. I don't know. Sure, I'm here till 6.
Okay.
All right, Pandora. All righty, so that was, I haven't heard from Pandora in a long time. She usually calls the morning show. She only calls this program once in a while. But Pandora, if you're still listening, please, I hope this story will be a teachable moment for you. Don't be a bank robber when you grow up. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess once she was in there, right? Once she's, she's given the teller the note, I'm here to rob you. And the teller says, well, we can only give you $1,000 because that's literally all I can take out at a time. What else could she do? She had to take the money, right? Because my first thought when I read that was, well, wait a minute, $1,000? And she's going to go through with it. It's not even worth going through with the bank robbery and risking prison for $1,000. But then it's like, at that point, she was committed. She's going to jail no matter what. And she is going to jail no matter what. Because like I said before, when does anybody ever get away with robbing a bank? Of any crime that you could commit. I mean, my goodness. Maybe this should be a teachable moment for you. Of any crime you could commit, that seems like the worst idea for a crime. Okay, so it says here, unfortunately for Finney, however, the snow had freshly fallen, and a series of footprints allegedly led police from the bank through a series of back streets and directly to the home where Finney was staying at the time. She was later arrested without incident. Yeah, she really didn't think this one through. She might have been distracted with thoughts of her other endeavors, with the animal kingdom, if you know what I mean. WFMJ also notes that 30-year-old Richard Williams was arrested and charged in connection with the alleged robbery. Additionally, an unarmed 15-year-old boy reportedly faces charges as well. What? Well, I'd be very curious to know more about what these people had to do with this very terrible idea. It doesn't really say. But then it gets to the good part, my friends. It says here, and again, this is from lawandcrime.com. Here's some information about Finney's recently alleged sexual history with a canine. It says in early 2017, yeah, you can... In early 2017, Finney was arrested and charged with 1 count of bestiality after a viral video from New Year's Day of that year appeared to show her performing sexual acts with a dog. Yeah, come on in, sit down. I feel badly that I'm reading this story while you're here, but Finney initially denied the charges, but eventually pleaded no contest and received a suspended sentence plus 5 years of probation for violating a recently enacted city ordinance, which makes it a first-degree misdemeanor charge to engage in this. During her original interview with detectives, Finney claimed the video had been doctored to make it look like she was doing something. According to the complaint, Finney, quote, did knowingly engage in sexual conduct with an animal or knowingly possess, sell, or purchase an animal with the intent that it be subjected to this conduct. The city passed the ordinance in response to an uproar. Okay, I'm not going to read the. Wow, that's pretty bad when you have to pass. Because I think this is already generally illegal, but apparently they had to pass specific laws on this. So my goodness. Well, hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's Ridley.
Oh, hey, Dave Ridley. How are you?
Oh, you sound really happy to hear from me.
Well, did you call back for more smooth jazz?
No, please, not that.
Oh, you don't like the smooth jazz?
Why not?
I do not. I like Matt Connarton.
Yes. Well, I like Matt Connarton, too. I'm my biggest fan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's on your mind today, Dave Ridley?
Well, I have an update for you on, I don't think I called you about this before, but you've been following much of this problem with, how the towns and cities in New Hampshire, you give them a freedom of information request, and they want to give you a big bill and a printout and charge per page. And so, have you been following this?
Well, I remember you talking about it before, but I mean, you're the only one I've heard really discussing it.
It's a big deal to the people at Right to Know NH. They're the ones that are really on this, not me. I just kind of talk about what they do sometimes. But they've had a bill, probably 2 or 3 bills this session, to try and deal with the problem of government kind of obfuscating, trying to get around the requirements that they provide information.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And one of those bills apparently, I don't know exactly when it happened, but it failed. They were trying to get a thing called an ombudsman, so that you would have a state ombudsman, the person you could go to when a town government is stonewalling you.
Right.
And this would have been a paid position, so it would have cost tax dollars. So I'm not saying I was in favor of the bill. I don't favor any bill that costs money. But
this is really familiar to me now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I guess it was voted down. It didn't sound like a very close vote in the general house. I mean, it sounded like I'm sorry. It didn't sound like a landslide. It sounded like it was a fairly close vote. But Harriet Katie was complaining about the vote, and she's a former state rep who's probably the most prominent person in Right to Know NH, along with David Sad.
Yeah. Okay. So what? So is that? So what's next with that? At this point,
I don't know. I do get their emails, and I just find out after the fact. Generally, it seems like, at least, I don't really agree with their proposed solution, but at least they are drawing attention to the fact that the town governments are doing what they're doing, and this has been in the mainstream press quite a bit. I think, actually, the fact that they're trying, people feel like they're being overcharged when they're trying to get documents from their government.
Right. Well, that's, yeah, I mean, it should be something that, it's kind of like you already pay your taxes to the government. You shouldn't have to also pay for information on what your government is doing with your tax money.
Yeah, I don't really know what the precise best solution is, but I sometimes all you can do is just talk about what everybody else is doing.
Right. That's true. Anything else on your mind, Dave Ridley?
Oh, have you guys been covering, speaking of which, have you guys been covering Carla Garrick's rally yesterday. I guess it was yesterday in Manchester.
No, on this show we don't do local Manchester politics, so we really, because isn't she mad at the local law enforcement or something like that?
Yeah, so I guess she was upset about the cameras. They've been installing cameras.
Oh, right. On Elm Street, yeah. Yeah, eventually we'll be like London. There's cameras everywhere.
Yeah, maybe. But it's interesting how, that's questionable, but they killed 3 people the other day, right? Didn't they? I mean, they killed one, and the other 2 committed suicide, and they locked, they ejected everybody from the motel, and they wouldn't let them go to their cars, and this huge disruption so that they could do some drug stuff, right? The DEA was involved, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm surprised there's not more of an outcry over the Comfort Inn incident as opposed to the cameras.
Do you think? Let me make a counter argument because I don't disagree with what you said, but is it possible that cameras might be a good thing in the sense that it could potentially, because everybody's on camera, right? We're on camera, so are the police on camera. If everybody's on camera downtown, right? So might that be a good thing in terms of accountability?
Well, cameras are a good thing. The problem is that the government's funding these, and the government has control over them. It's a monopoly. And then you know what happened when Tom Ball made effective anti-government use of a government camera. The video was never seen.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's they have the ability to suppress that. Certainly. Jenny in the Facebook live chat says it is supposedly a polite society, or is it government overreach? Hello to Gia, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. Oh, and Jenny is now here in the studio.
Hi.
Oh, that was quick. Did you teleport?
I did. Actually, no, I didn't. Truth be told, I rode the broom. Yeah, I took the broom. It was quicker. Huh?
You do not have a broom.
Well, some people think I can fly on one.
Well,
so why not?
You have one for sweeping.
For what? For sweeping?
You have one for sweeping.
Actually, we have one that plugs in, but
hey,
I was hearing what you were saying, and I mean, it's this crazy thing where we all say, when seconds counts, the police are minutes away. And that's an argument that we all have towards, utilizing the abilities to be able to use self-defense. But we're in a society where these, heinous acts happen, and we have the technology to be able to potentially stop them or maybe trace something. I mean, there's been issues with surveillance cameras being involved with finding children and people who have been kidnapped. So there's an argument for it. But then again, Do we want to be a society that is constantly being surveilled?
Well, I don't know. If there's a problem, the first question to ask is, what's the government doing that we need to stop them doing that's adding to the problem, right? I mean, right now, there's a state law that, puts a chilling effect on me if I want to go downtown and start getting video and audio of homeless people misbehaving. If I'm in a private property, especially, like there are a couple homeless guys accosted me in a market basket, in Manchester a while back.
Oh, really?
And I whipped out my camera, and maybe I filmed them, maybe I didn't, but they sure thought I was filming.
Oh, really?
And they split and freaked out and reacted really badly. And it would have been nice to be able to take a video of something like that and put it on YouTube. Shame these people if they're misbehaving,
right?
But the wiretapping law, it created a chilling effect as to whether I was going to film, first of all, and whether I'd put it on YouTube if I did film.
Well, that hasn't stopped a local elected official here and others in other areas of our country from taking pictures of people who may be indigent or homeless in very unfavorable positions or even unconscious and putting them out there publicly to use for their political fodder.
Yeah, you know, I follow. You must be talking about Joe Kelly. I follow his.
Oh, that's
one of his Facebook
that's
followers,
one. I really am disgusted by that kind of behavior.
Going out there and getting pictures of what it looks like, and
what you assume it looks like.
I wish there was less restriction on video.
Well, I mean, how much restriction really is there? I mean, you and I both know. I've seen you do it.
It's a limited restriction. It's a chilling effect. It's not like you really be violating the law if you videotape and audio tape the homeless person.
Wait, I got to ask you this question. All right, so bearing in mind what you just said, are you sure you don't want cameras on the streets on Elm Street or anywhere else in USA?
I'm sure I don't want government funding them or government running them.
Government controlling what people can have access to. Yeah. Because you do run into that.
Then what is the solution?
You do run into that with body cams. I'm all in favor of police having body cams, but you do run into a situation sometimes where people have to sue just to get the footage because, you know, the police have the body cams and the police control them.
Yeah, the solution, I mean, there are many different
and they just shut them
solutions, but a couple
off when they feel like it.
Again, videotaping whatever problems are going on. Running litter pickups, which, speaking of Carla Garrick, she just ran one of those in Manchester, and I've done a couple. The other thing you could do would be, I guess, like a newsletter or something in the most affected area. If I lived there, you know, that might be something I consider to do. But if you have like a newsletter that's posted all the time that has the names of perpetrators and shows pictures of who's been doing which crimes, you know, against persons.
Oh, so you're in favor.
Would probably clean things up pretty fast.
So you're advocating for governmental use of the media to embarrass people into not doing crimes or having recidivism? No,
I'm advocating the private use of these things.
But if you're putting everybody on a website because they committed X or Y, what do you think, Matt? I mean, hey, Matt, if you stole something out of a store, you know, should somebody else be able to access that online? Or perhaps you got picked up because you goofed and didn't renew your driver's license and, oops, your driving expired. And that wasn't intentional or to do some harm to somebody. However, that's going to put your mug on that website that you just mentioned and list you as a deviant. I didn't
advocate putting people on websites for victimless crimes. A person could do that, I guess, but I'm not saying that would be helpful.
See, that's why I say be careful what you ask for. Because I can see where you're going with that and how that could be a useful resource. However, I can see where the abuse would be. And then, you know, we'll have even worse situations of people doing tit for tat against each other.
Well, you ask for a solution. That's what comes to mind. There may be better solutions. But as long as no act of aggression is being committed, any solution is fine.
At least you're willing to try and come up with a solution instead of giving, you know, some political line that most politicians will feed you and go and try and, you know, run that over as a supposed solution that was nothing more than an alphabet soup sandwich.
Well, and again, you know, Joe Kelly, he's not, you know, he doesn't think like me. I don't think like him. But he goes out there and he gets pictures or he finds pictures and he puts them on the internet and he's acting, you know, however I don't think that's costing anybody any tax dollars for him to do that. So that's probably the best use of a politician I've seen all week.
Seriously, I've been asking this question. Matt knows I've been asking this question. Is it appropriate for an elected official to take disparaging videos and then put them, or pictures, and put them out there and indicate what they believe it may or may not be? I mean, I know one of the pictures in questions may or may not have actually been a picture of somebody who had just had a seizure.
Actually, there's somebody else who wants to chime in here. Let's just,
even saying something like that, you know, you could, if you were like a national talk show host and you said something like that, you could have your show yanked off the air, or there could be protests at your offices or something over something like that.
Oh, that was virtual Dave Ridley, our new cast member here. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
What was the context? Where are we?
Wait, I've been dying for this.
What do you mean?
It gets better. Oh, it gets better.
I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead. Virtual Dave Ridley is very rude. He interrupted you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. It did definitely sound familiar, whatever was being said. But no, I didn't really have anything else
about
to add.
that.
Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
That is all. I'm done.
No. No, I just he just
We love you.
he likes to he likes to just
No, we do know that
okay,
virtual.
I'm done. I
Wait a
gotta go.
minute.
I gotta go.
No, virtual Ridley really does have warm feelings for Matt Connarton.
Yes, he does. Yes, our family here just keeps growing, Dave. We had the ghost of John McCain. He's been haunting us, and now we have
I'm John McCain,
and now we have virtual Dave Ridley. It's amazing.
All right, I'm honored, but I can't think of anything else to tell you.
Oh,
What a
okay.
pair, Ridley and McCain.
I know, right? That would be a great ticket. Well, aside from McCain being dead, but I'd vote for that. Dave Ridley, if you ever run for president, would you have the ghost of John McCain as your running mate?
I would not.
All right.
I have the courage, the wisdom, the experience, and most importantly, the oldness.
He makes a strong case.
Mm.
All right, Dave.
We love you. Do the Ridley report.
Oh, yes. Please plug the Ridley report before you go.
Ridley report. Something.
Ridley report.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, all right, Dave Ridley. Thank you so much for the call, my friend.
Okay, you're welcome so much, and thank you for your service.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Dave Ridley leaves us. That opens up a line for you, 603-250-6007. Hello to Dr. Jeff Cassell, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. Gia is in there as well. Hello, Gia. Pete Trouble Morse is in the Facebook live, as well as Ricky Litwinkowicz. So we've got a full boat. And, of course, the ghost of John McCain. And
quite the tribe in there.
Virtual Dave Ridley and Jenny's here, too.
Oh, really? Really?
I told you.
We're going to go back into that world again?
You're and the rest.
You want me to walk out again?
The professor and Mary
Is it because
Ann,
Ricky's in the chat room? It's because Ricky's in the chat room.
Yes.
You're starting this because of Ricky.
No,
this is Ricky's fault.
Well, that's true. It is Ricky's fault, yes.
That's right.
We established that before. That gets an air horn. There you go.
Where's the Dave Ridley know when I need one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy with where we are.
That's not Dave Ridley. That's McCain.
That was the ghost of John McCain. That's true, yes.
I wanted virtual Ridley.
Oh, well, he'll pipe up from time to time. You know how he is.
You're just not going to give me what I want because I'm not your chosen co-host.
I don't have any control over when virtual Dave Ridley wants to speak. Although he kept interrupting Dave Ridley. I didn't like it when virtual Dave Ridley was talking over Dave Ridley. I thought that was very rude of virtual Dave Ridley.
Well, I thought Dave was very polite to Dave, and I don't know why you're complaining about Dave when Dave's a very good person and Dave is a very good voice to hear.
Well,
so, I think you're being terrible to me and to Ridley. So there.
Well, no, I like Ridley, and I
like. Oh, you like Ridley,
and I like virtual Dave Ridley. I just.
How much do you like Ridley?
I just don't know.
Do you like Ridley?
No, I don't like him that way.
Yes, you do.
No.
Like. I heard a rumor you were going to go to Bear Week.
Oh.
In P-Town in Massachusetts. Are you going to take Ridley?
I don't think. I don't think either one of us are inclined to. I don't. Well, Hoppy is a sexy beast, as we've established.
Yeti. He does have a closet Yeti fetish.
By the way, tomorrow celebrates 2 years.
Over that.
2 years here at WMNH for the morning show.
I know these crazy people.
Not the morning show.
Morning
my
show.
3 years. It
was
you? 3 years recently for the morning show.
Who are you?
No, the morning show. The morning show was on my mind because yesterday after the show, it was off the air. But I received right after I finished up my show, I received a visit here in the studio from Joel the Moose Elber. Because he was preparing to go
on
the Honorable Joel the Moose Elber. Yes, he was preparing to go on John Hopwood's show.
That's right.
It was very nice to see Joel.
It's a rare sighting, to see the Elber.
I was very careful while he was here not to ask him to do traffic, even though we were off air. I didn't want him to get upset.
Well, I'm glad that you...
Traffic is good. That's it.
Yeah. Didn't want to do that. No, it was very nice to see him, and we had a nice chat.
You're just awful today.
Well, this is what's really awful, but it's not. So
is it going to make me want to cry?
Well, this is from lawandcrime.com. This story's from a couple of months ago, but I've been meaning to get to it because I have a bone to pick with one of the people in this story.
Just one?
The man who liked the DMV too much. Employees say stalker wouldn't stop buying them pizzas. Now, before we get into this, now it is a little weird and creepy that this guy kept hanging around the DMV and harassing these people, but he bought them pizzas. So if it were me, I would have been like, dude, you're a little creepy with this whole stalking thing.
Yeah, but
thank you for the pizza. You know what I mean?
Easily led astray by food.
These DMV employees, and what state was this in? They are just ungrateful. Lincoln County, Missouri. Yeah, I get it. They don't want some creepy guy stalking them. Okay. But the dude's buying you pizza. Can you not just enjoy
so if you would
a
like
delicious
to buy free
pizza pie?
Please send it to Matt Connarton, care of WFNH.
Look, yeah, I mean, look, I'll even put this out there. If there's anyone who's been thinking about stalking me, yeah, I'd kind of rather you didn't because that's creepy and weird. But if you're going to send me pizzas, I probably will eat them, and I will appreciate them aside from whatever other weird, creepy stuff might go along with that. So just so you know. And I do enjoy a delicious, my favorite is pepperoni and mushroom.
No.
I'm not saying.
Pepperoni and pineapple.
Ooh, that's disgusting.
Sweet and
okay.
Yes, sweet and spicy.
No, a pineapple on a pizza is an abomination.
It is not.
I say that with apologies.
Pineapple and pepperoni are beautiful.
I say that with apologies to any Hawaiian listeners who might be online enjoying the show. But that is disgusting.
It is not.
If you are a stalker of mine and you send me anything with pineapple on it, I will call the police.
Yeah, but then he'll eat it because let's face it. No, yeah. Oh, come on.
You can't
tell
even.
The truth.
No,
I have seen you eat a pizza, pull the
you
pineapple
really
off of it, and eat it anyway.
That's doubtful because you really can't do that with pineapple.
No, I've seen you do it.
Pineapple leaves pineapple residue, and you can still taste the pineapple.
I have had my pizza, and you have had a piece of my pizza minus the pineapple.
Was probably
with the pepperoni intact.
I was probably exceptionally hungry. It really is.
Are you trying to say you were under the influence to eat the pizza?
It really is disgusting to me. Pineapple on a pizza.
There's nothing disgusting about that.
It's
delicious.
Maybe that's what freaked out these DMV employees. I don't know, but it says here.
You don't know good food.
Every institution has its fans, even your local Department of Motor Vehicles. In all seriousness, though, a man was arrested for allegedly stalking DMV employees in Lincoln County, Missouri. Deputies claim a series of creeptacular and frightening actions by Timothy Howe, age 34. Detectives began investigating on February 6th, according to a news release. Problems started last year because of pizza. Employees at a DMV in the city of Troy claimed the suspect anonymously bought pizza for them, drove through the parking lot, quote, at all times of the day. Now, I think pizza's good at any time, and reached out to them on social media using an assumed name. One of them, a woman, asked him to stop buying her the pizzas. So, in the words of deputies, he, quote, bought them for everyone in the office except for her, unquote. Now, I think he's being reasonable there, to be quite honest with you. Again, the stalking thing is not cool, but if a stalkee is so ungrateful to have pizza, and I mean,
really?
if I were one of her
coworkers,
so if
you feed me, I should be grateful that you will stalk me. I don't think so.
If I were one of her coworkers, I would have said to her, I would have been like, I don't know what your problem is, but thanks, because now we all get pizza, and every day at the DMV would be a pizza party.
I think that there is a secret society out there of people like you that are encouraging these behaviors and actually supplying the pizza.
No.
Yes.
I don't supply pizza.
I believe that there is a secret society out there that encourages others and therefore increases the amount of pizza availability.
I don't
There's
supply.
A more per capita pizza to person ratio than there is otherwise.
No, I don't supply pizza. I consume pizza. People supply pizza to me.
So are you telling me that if I go and buy a pepperoni and pineapple, which, by the way, I noticed in the chat room, Angela's on my side, by the way. Angela, yes, shout out to Angela. What, no air horn? pepperoni and pineapple is delicious.
Pineapple never gets
So
an air
if
horn.
I sit here and eat a pineapple and
You know
pepperoni
what?
pizza, you're not going to eat any of it?
You know what? It gets a
if
half
that's
an
the only one?
gets a half an air horn for the pepperoni. There you go.
No.
And I cut the air horn off because of the pineapple.
Oh,
Is
Mr.
that's
Generous over here.
Disgusting
Oh,
pineapple.
aren't you wonderful, darling? Mr. Generous. Oi.
Ugh.
Did it hurt when you hit the button?
Ugh. Pineapple.
There's nothing wrong. So basically all I need to do is get a pepperoni and pineapple pizza and you will never eat a slice.
I might I might try picking off the pineapple and just seeing. It depends on how much pineapple residue is left on the pizza.
Got you.
Because pineapple, like some things you can pick off a pizza and it's fine and you don't really still taste them. Pineapple seeps into the crust. Oh, and then it's there and it's unavoidable.
Pineapple
It's
is a
permanent.
wonderful thing.
Ugh.
And you're just sad. It's sad.
I mean, if you don't
It's
like
sad.
pepperoni,
are a
you just pick it
food
off.
Snob.
but I am a food.
You are a food snob.
I'm a foodist. I discriminate
You're a
against various foods.
Is that a new? That's a new
I
mannerism.
am a foodist. I'm guilty
Is that
of
a new mannerism
foodism.
now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Says here, most people go out of their way to avoid the DMV unless absolutely necessary. Not how, according to deputies. Employees said he was irregular, asking for abandoned vehicle forms and other documents. Issues came to a head when, in November of last year, he allegedly left a lot of money for a DMV employee and told her to get a manicure.
Okay, that is really weird.
The State Complaint Investigation Bureau told him he was persona non grata from then on at the Troy license office. I would have taken the money. I would have gotten a manicure and some pizza.
No,
That's
I do
what I
not
would have
want.
done.
I'm sorry. I disagree. I would not advise anyone to take money from a strange man. That's just not a good
This
idea.
man was trying
or
to be...
anybody for that matter, male, female,
trying to
whatever.
be-
I don't care. Put whatever pronoun in there you want to.
He's trying to
Do
be
not
helpful.
Take money from strangers in that fashion.
He obviously,
it's just too not so cool.
He obviously appreciates these government employees. I mean, was this going on during the government shutdown? This was back in February. Because if it was, I mean, you know...
Well, then he was doing a service.
then these poor people probably weren't getting paid, right?
so they weren't getting to eat, so he was feeding them.
Right, well, that's what I
I'll
mean.
tell you what, when I worked in the ED, there is no ED in this world anywhere that you will find that
You
does
should-
not appreciate ED means emergency
Yes.
department. Sorry. Go to any emergency room anywhere, any fire department anywhere. Offer food, and you will have new best friends. They will love you. I know that when we were 12-hour shifts. If anybody brought us food, we were forever grateful. It was like the greatest thing ever.
Hello to Christian Cunard in the Facebook live chat, as well as Bill Muckler. Bill says, good afternoon, Matt. Well, you just made a great pro-stocking argument there.
A pro what argument?
Stocking, because if it includes pizza or food, you just said, if you're in the emergency department working, you appreciate people stocking
But
you
that's
with food.
different because no, I didn't say stocking. I said dropping
sure?
off food, ordering food or dropping off food and leaving it and leaving.
Oh, I thought you said stocking.
But if you're thinking about doing that, send them like pasta and salads and fruits and stuff. Everybody sends pizza. Send more interesting.
Maybe some
flavors.
burgers. They like burgers, right?
Burgers are always good.
There you
I
go.
can remember both hospitals I worked at having barbecues in the parking lot. That was some of the best times ever. I don't know if they do that anymore, but geez, we used to look forward to it. Every summer we'd have like a giant barbecue in the back home in Plymouth, Mass. Shout out to what was Jordan Hospital. We used to have these big barbecues. They were awesome. And they cooked the meat, by the way. Not like the way you have it, where it's still mooing on the plate.
That's how it's meant to be eaten.
No. Meat is not supposed to bleed when you eat it.
Pete Trouble Morris says, worst pizza topping ever, eggplant.
I agree.
Wouldn't even occur to me, actually, to put eggplant on a
I've
pizza.
seen
so
that.
I'd probably agree as well. Yeah.
I've seen that.
I wouldn't, ugh. It says here, problems allegedly continued. Howe is also accused of getting his hands on a woman's cell phone number. Deputies described the text messages as odd, and one of these was a Merry Christmas message. A woman also said he drove past her twice while she was filling up her car at the gas station, officials said. Howe is now charged with first-degree stalking and 3 counts of first-degree harassment. Deputies said he's locked up at the Lincoln County Jail on $20,000 cash-only bond. It's unclear if he has an attorney in this matter. Well, what attorney wouldn't take his case? He's just a helpful man trying to buy pizza. He probably needed that
And
cell
manicures.
phone number, so, in case the...
Don't forget the manicures. It's not just pizza.
Yes. He probably needed that cell phone number in case the pizza delivery person needed to call to clarify the address.
Dude, no. What are you encouraging bad behaviors for?
I'm encouraging stalkers to buy me pizza is what
You're
I'm trying to do
terrible.
here.
You're incorrigible. You're terrible.
I don't know what the problem is. Let's see.
Your Yetiism is getting to the world, I think.
Oh, Fred Boenig in the Facebook live chat. Fred from the dailyripple.org. He joins us, and he posted something, covers stalking and Italian food.
What about Italian food? It's one of my favorites, I love Italian food.
You love the Olive Garden. I don't know if that counts.
No, I like real Italian. No, I like the Olive Garden. I do. I won't say that I don't. But I love, I used to be good old-fashioned. I love at-home restaurants. I'm a big at-home place. There's a great Greek restaurant that's local here called The Republic I love going to. I love places like that. They put so much effort into what they do, and it's always amazing.
Trying to see what this...
Of course, you, on the other hand, will eat just about anything. Burnt, unburnt, cooked, uncooked.
Fred
You
sent
just
us
want food.
something we'll play in a bit. Speaking of deliveries, Reason.com has this story. 24 California cities are suing to stop home cannabis deliveries. Most California cities already ban recreational cannabis stores. A few now want to ban home deliveries as well. It says here a coalition of California local governments is suing the state's top cannabis regulator for legalizing the home delivery of recreational cannabis.
But feel free to ship a bottle of wine via the United States Postal Service.
That's right. On Thursday, 24 cities and Santa Cruz County filed a lawsuit against the Bureau of Cannabis Control, the BCC, alleging that the BCC's decision in July 2018 to allow door-to-door cannabis delivery statewide violated Prop 64, California's legalization ballot initiative. That measure, passed in November 2016, ended cannabis prohibition, but left local governments with wide discretion over how to regulate the newly legal industry. That includes the power to ban recreational cannabis businesses outright, something 80% of California's 482 municipalities have done, according to the LA Times. Great. It's like one step forward, two steps back. The dispute over home delivery pits the power of these local governments against those citizens who, having been deprived of nearby brick-and-mortar stores, depend on delivery services for ready access to cannabis. Quote, the negative impact delivery bans would have on the industry and the state cannot be understated, unquote. Josh Drayton of the California Cannabis Industry Association tells the LA Times, warning that a ban on deliveries would force users into the illicit market. That's what happens when you ban these things. That's why the drug war doesn't work.
Not to mention that when you talk about this, remember, you're also talking about a medication.
Right, exactly.
So on one, is it a medication or isn't it a medication? Which is it? Because you can't have it both ways in law.
Right.
In law, there has to be equality in that. And what you're talking about, remember, is also people out there are probably thinking, oh, home delivery. But how about home delivery to the MS patient, to the MD patient who can't get out, has their medications shipped to them, has a nurse come to their house? This is a way for them to have access without having to pay through the nose. And so I can't, this article, the things about these articles that bother me when you read them, Matt, is that, they kind of hit people like, oh, this is all about people having recreational fun time. It's like getting a kegger at the house. They don't remember the people that really are the ones that mainly use these services.
Right. Oh, hello to Rhonda in the Facebook live chat. Rhonda, or she liked the video anyway. Rhonda Ostrowitz Favero. I still have no idea if I'm saying that correctly.
The Honorable Joe Elber says, thank you for the shutout, Matt.
Oh.
Great show today, as always. Good to see you last night, and congrats tomorrow on your 2-year anniversary.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, that gets an air horn.
Oh, there's that air horn again.
Yes.
I get a migraine. You and the air horn. Oy vey.
We also have the ghost of John McCain wants to say something about that, too.
I'm very happy with where we are.
I always know when the ghost of John McCain wants to speak because I feel a cold chill. And Virtual Dave...
What do you feel when...
Oh, I see. Yes, I get it. All right, fine, yes.
Virtual Dave Ridley also had something to say.
What do you feel when you need to play Virtual Dave Ridley?
Okay, whatever.
I feel a warmth wash over me.
So Dave makes you feel warm.
Dave makes me feel
and McCain
warm.
Gives you a chill.
The ghost of John McCain makes me feel haunted.
No, you said a chill. There's a difference between haunted and a chill.
Well, no, you get a chill when you're haunted by something. Haunted by the ghost of John McCain.
I don't know if I'd call that a chill, but
no, that's
it's kind of a sticky.
I'm here.
It's not really a great analogy there, Matt.
No,
it's really not.
It's not. It's some Quaalude guy who's talking about awful music, and that's no, it's not working. It's not working. Just be mad.
Did Virtual Dave just say Quaalude?
Virtual Dave Ridley is very emotional.
I noticed.
Yes.
Is he young? Just asking.
He's
the crack
ageless.
Voice and everything,
He's virtual.
Just kind of curious about the cracking voice.
He did kind of sound like Kirk Cameron on Growing Pains.
Yeah, right. What is that? Around the age of 13, 14?
Something like that. It says here, opponents of home cannabis delivery argue that when Prop 64 let local governments ban cannabis-related businesses, that naturally included cannabis delivery businesses. Their lawsuit also points to a failed bill last year that would have kept local governments from prohibiting home cannabis deliveries, saying this is evidence that existing law gives local governments that power. Supporters of home delivery point out that Prop 64 did not let local governments ban the transportation of cannabis through their jurisdictions. A law passed by the California legislature further establishes that, quote, a local jurisdiction shall not prevent delivery of cannabis or cannabis products on public roads, unquote. I like that argument better. The lawsuit argues that even if cities can't regulate deliveries on public roads, they still have the power to pass rules on what happens at private addresses.
Do you know how infuriating it is to me to sit here and listen to you read that? And all I could think about is what you can get delivered to your house. Cigarettes, cigars, beer, wine. That's all cool. We can have that. You can have anything like that sent to your house. You can have ammo. Hey, let's go the Republican Party route, right? Because it's Republicans that don't want this. You can have ammo sent to you, can't you? Yes, you can. There's a lot of great things you can get. So why in the world would you want to make it harder for somebody? I mean, that's just silly. It's stupid. Unless, and here's my question to you: is it just simply all about the money? It's not about right and wrong. It's about licensure and being able to have that control and charge that money and tax that service or fine it and get the most amount of money out of it that you can by the government.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what it's always about. Always follow the money. It's never nothing to do. I've said this many times, and I'll say this again. I firmly believe this. Nothing to do with the war on drugs ever has anything to do with right or wrong or protecting people or anything like that. It is all about the money.
Yep.
And the war on drugs is, people say it's a failure. It's a failed experiment. Prohibition is a failed experiment, etc. It is, except for the people for whom it makes money. Because, the drug cartels and the underground drug market benefit tremendously from it. Big Pharma certainly benefits from restricting access to cannabis. Law enforcement certainly benefits tremendously from the use of civil asset forfeiture, where the government gets to take all your stuff from you based on nothing more than the idea that you may have done something wrong with no due process. There's a lot of people profiting from the war on drugs.
And grant dollars are also attached to what? Arrest, conviction.
Oh, yeah.
How many arrests did you do? How many convictions did you get? They get grant money on that.
Yeah.
And we incentivize this behavior to continue in government by continuing to allow it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, until we stand up and say enough.
Is your opinion.
What did we talk about this before? Didn't we, Matt? And there was there's a list that's out there, and you can Google it, of the average taxpayer in the United States pays approximately 100 taxes on average without realizing it. When you think about it, everywhere you travel, you get gas in your car, there's a gas tax.
Mm-hmm.
You go buy toilet paper in the grocery store, there's a tax on that. There's a tax for a marriage license. There's a tax if you want to have a public gathering at a public forum on the front steps of your capital to protest something. There's a tax, or you'll get arrested. And then there's a tax for that.
Oh, Fred just sent this. Here's an example. I'm not going to tell you what this is from. Here's an example of home delivery of something.
Is it Cheech and Chong?
No.
Okay, good. Because I've heard that one.
Okay, you got to listen carefully. It's coming. Let's see if you can guess where this is from. There's very little dialogue here, as you can tell. It's from the 80s. I'll give you a hint. All right, here it comes.
Are you ready for me, Ralph?
It was quieter than I expected. Did you hear what she said?
No, I'm too deaf for that.
Are you ready for me, Ralph?
Oh, boy.
Do you know what that's from?
16 Candles?
Nope. That's the right era.
It's not Breakfast Club. What's that one? Risky Business?
Risky Business. There you go. You got it.
Hey!
Yep, that's what
Look
that's
at
from.
Me.
That's an example of home delivery.
I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I pulled that right out.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. All right, let's see. So there's a little bit more to this, and then we'll take a break. It says, as a matter of what the law says, the city suing the BCC may have a good point about the state overreaching. As a matter of what would be good policy, the jurisdiction of limiting home deliveries is remarkably weak. For all the problems with banning a physical weed store, it at least targets something that anti-cannabis people can see and be offended by. A ban on home delivery, by contrast, targets behavior that is almost entirely undetectable. It basically limits what cannabis consumers can do in their own home, which undermines the whole purpose of repealing the state's cannabis prohibition in the first place. At best, these bans will only force consumers to drive to the next town over to purchase cannabis. More likely, it will just mean more consumers continue to rely on an untaxed, unregulated black market, which, again, that's the whole point.
Which normally has a whole lot of organic farmers. I mean, let's talk about what we're talking about here. That market in the legal states has become farmers, organic, local farmers with local production.
Yeah, but they'd rather you buy it off the street and risk that it's laced with fentanyl or something.
People don't see that's you're perpetuating the hysteria. They don't lace marijuana with fentanyl.
Well, no,
fentanyl gets put into things like cocaine.
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
I know, but I'm just using that as an example of. I'm just saying, like,
I know.
They don't care. They just as soon you buy it where you don't know what's in it.
But where is it written that we know what's in the government-controlled dispensaries? I don't know if it's 100% organic. I don't know if they used a growth chemical. I don't know how much genetic manipulation might have been done. I am not giving that information. And, by not allowing the market to have, free market and more people involved in it, we keep the prices so high that, if you can afford it, you can have the medicine. If you can't afford it, tough.
Rhonda in the Facebook live chat says, and we pain patients are dying, suffering, and committing suicide, because I mentioned Big Pharma.
Yeah, she's right.
So let's see.
In fact, as a matter of fact, recently today, as a matter of fact, in the news, the CDC actually finally has put something out there. It was not the CDC, I'm sorry, the FDA, getting guidelines out there encouraging doctors to titrate patients appropriately. Because patients are being taken off their drugs, and you've seen this, and they're committing suicide, or they are going to the street.
Yeah, Rhonda also says, too, she agrees about, forcing folks to the black market. That's how a lot of people end up on heroin when they can't get their... a lot of veterans, that happens, too. They get cut off by the VA for the meds they need. A lot of heroin addicts are veterans. They get cut off. They can't get the meds, and they go to the street for it. All right, so we're going to play a couple of songs. We'll take a break. Fred sent a couple of fun things. I think I might have played this on the show once before a long time ago, but Fred always sends us good stuff. So we'll take a break, and because it is a little bit past top of the hour. More Matt Connarton Unleashed coming up, but right now this is Bourbon and Schwartz with a song called Weed at Walmart.
Oy vey.
They say, Billy, what's all these songs about weed, man? Between you and Jason Boland, don't we have all we need? I said, I want to feel like I done my part when they start selling weed at Walmart. Weed at Walmart, yeah. There's a smile in every eye. Man, it ain't never gonna be the same. Half the people want to argue about the seeds and then a Walmart brand weed. The other half forgot why they came. They have a whole department devoted to weed. Happiest damn employees that you ever seen. The only bad thing about when Walmart starts selling pot is finding your way out of the parking lot. Billy, what's with all these songs about weed, man? Between you and Snoop Dogg, don't we have all we need? I said, I want to feel like I done my part when they start selling weed at Walmart. Weed at Walmart, yeah. Special in aisle number 4. They got some Yucatan Blue, man, it's moving out the door. Only about $20 for Walmart brand weed, that's all it takes. And $200 for Little Debbie cakes. They'll have a drive-through, they'll have a fast lane. First time I charge weed on my Visa, I know I got it made. Low, low prices, that's a Walmart guarantee. You know, that little yellow smiley face looks kinda stoned to me. I say, Billy, what's all these songs about weed, man? Between you and Willie Nelson, don't we have all we need? I said, I want to feel like I done my part when they start selling weed at Walmart. Yeah, I want to get me a job being a greeter there at Walmart when they pass that dang law. I'm waiting for Walmart to have no piddly little sale. I'm heading straight to Sam's Club and getting a big old bag.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. We're live on WMNH 95.3 FM, well into hour number 2. And Rhonda just sent me a song to play, the DEA song. Yeah, I haven't heard this. We'll play this later. We'll probably play that at the end of the show. Let's see. So, we got, I want to get to, well, a couple things. Oh, yeah, let's do the Mormon church thing that showed up. This is, oh, by the way, whoever was calling during the song, feel free to call back. I can't really take calls on the air while we're in the middle of a song unless you just want to sit and listen to the show through your phone. 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. Mormon Church to allow children of LGBTQ couples to be baptized. This is from Reuters. The Mormon Church will allow the children of lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender parents to be baptized, but will not sanction same-sex marriage, its leadership said on Thursday. Well, baby steps, I guess. The decision, announced on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints website Thursday morning, reverses a 2015 policy that deemed same-sex couples to be apostates of the faith, which made their children ineligible for baptism. Said the church, which no longer uses the common term Mormon, quote, "We want to reduce the hate and contention so common today. We are optimistic that a majority of people, whatever their beliefs and orientations, long for better understanding and less contentious communications," unquote. The policy took effect on Thursday for the more than 16 million members of the Salt Lake City-based church. LGBT advocates praised the move as progress in a fight to end discrimination against LGBT people in faith groups. Quote, "This statement by the LDS Church to change course is a move in the right direction that will make a difference in the lives of LGBTQ Mormons," unquote, the Trevor Project, an international advocacy group for LGBT youth, said in a statement. The church's statement emphasized that the new policy does not reflect a change in doctrine. The church considers same-sex marriage and same-sex acts to be sins, while it does not condemn same-sex attraction alone, according to its website. So that just a quick thing that I thought was interesting. This just popped up a little while ago, actually, just as we were getting on the air. Developing story, kind of a developing story, this part of it, the rally that's going on. TheHill.com reporting transgender troops rally as the Pentagon prepares to implement its ban. You may recall, I mean, it seems like it was a couple of years ago now, right? When Trump one afternoon just kind of put out what at the time seemed like a random tweet about, effective immediately, no more transgender troops in the military. And then what appeared to be happening after that, or not happening, was, because, so he put that out there, and then it was, there became a question of, well, can he just do this by executive order? There's always those questions. And then James Mattis at the time, the defense secretary, to some appeared to be sort of slow walking the whole thing because he was allegedly not a big fan of this change in policy. And, my reaction to it at the time was, well, who's complaining? You don't hear anything in the news about anybody in the military complaining about transgender troops. So, is this just a solution in search of a problem? Something to, sometimes Trump seems to throw this stuff out there in order to, appeal to his base and so forth. So TheHill.com reporting transgender troops, supportive lawmakers, and other advocates rallied outside the Capitol today, 2 days before the Pentagon is set to enforce a ban on most transgender military service. So apparently the ban is going into effect. Quote, "Our best weapon is to lace up our boots and go to work every day and do the mission and get it done," unquote. Said Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Brian Bree Fram, rather. Quote, "We're doing that every day around the world, at home and abroad. What we ask is that you do not let the security of our country be put at risk by the loss of these valuable, well-trained service members that contribute to the readiness of and lethality of our force," unquote. The lawmakers who came to Wednesday's rally were Democratic Representatives Joe Kennedy III of Massachusetts, Gil Cisneros of California, and Anthony Brown of Maryland. Quote, "I cannot promise you we will win this fight by Friday night, but I can promise you that we will win it," unquote, said Kennedy, chairman of the LGBT Equality Caucus's Transgender Equality Task Force. That's a long name. Transgender troops have been serving openly since the Obama administration lifted the previous ban in 2016. But the Pentagon is set to implement a policy Friday that would bar most transgender people from serving in the military. The policy, taking effect almost 2 years after President Trump first tweeted his intention to ban transgender troops, comes after courts paved the way by lifting 4 injunctions that were blocking it. Courts did not rule on the underlying merits of the 4 lawsuits, though, and the litigants have vowed to press on. Shannon Minter, legal director at the National Center for Lesbian Rights, told The Hill on Wednesday that the next steps are to enforce the requirement for the government to deliver documents requested as part of the discovery process. Under the policy taking effect on Friday, people diagnosed, and the details are important, people diagnosed with gender dysphoria will not be able to serve unless a doctor certifies that they have been stable in their biological sex for 36 months, have not transitioned to the gender they identify with, and are willing to serve in their biological sex. The policy will grandfather in, now this part's very important, the policy will grandfather in currently serving transgender troops or anyone who has already signed an enlistment contract allowing them to continue serving openly and receiving medical care. Well, that's good. I mean, at least people who are already in are grandfathered in. Quote, when we wake up on Friday to a new policy, active duty transgender service members will be the face of open trans service, unquote, said Navy Lieutenant Commander Blake Dremen. Quote, as we are able, we must be visible to those who would discriminate against us as a reminder to them that we will not be forced to hide. Make it matter, unquote. Fred in the Facebook live chat says it's all about the money. I'm curious, Fred, please elaborate on that if you could. The Pentagon denies the policy is a ban because of the carve-outs for currently serving transgender service members and transgender people willing to serve in their biological sex. But transgender service members and their advocates argue it effectively is a ban akin to the defunct Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy that banned open service to gay, lesbian, and bisexual people. Brown told the crowd in his speech, quote, your bravery in the military is only eclipsed by your bravery taking this fight head on while still wearing the uniform and sits in stark contrast to the man in the White House and his bigoted ban. I promise we will not allow transgender troops to fight alone. So there you go. So that's from thehill.com. And that's happening today, or the rally, assuming it's still going on, is happening right now in Washington, D.C. This is from Politico because this family separation policy continues to be an issue. And all the upheaval at DHS. Kirsten Gillibrand, of course. I mean, not Kirsten Gillibrand. What's her name? I just figured out how to say her first name correctly the other day. Kirstjen Nielsen, rather. Kirsten Gillibrand, of course, is a senator running for president. Kirstjen I almost did it again. Kirstjen Nielsen is out, of course, at DHS. So senior Trump officials are saying, and by that I assume they mean Stephen Miller, it's not family separation if choice is up to the parent. So this is kind of the new detail that's been introduced here. It says on Tuesday, President Trump said his administration has no intention of separating migrant children from their parents, but 2 senior administration officials on Wednesday appeared to contradict the president, saying the federal government is indeed weighing a policy that would have the same ultimate effect. Now, let me stop there for a moment before we go any further with this. If you remember, and I said this yesterday on the show, the thing that's out there, the rumor is that part of why Trump wanted Kirstjen Nielsen out was because she was pushing back on reinstating family separation, because supposedly he wanted to go full bore with reinstating that. Oh, Fred says cost about paying for the change surgery and the Tony Perkins FRC, which is the, what is that, Family Research Center or Family Research Council, which in my view is a hate group, and the evangelicals pushing Trump, and without them, Trump has no way of winning re-election. That's a good point. Well, like I said, I mean, he's always trying to figure out a way to appeal to those people, his base. But yeah, so the rumor was that Trump wanted her out because she was pushing back on family separation and basically saying to him, look, the courts are in the way. If the courts tell us we can't do this, we can't do this. We have three branches of government. You've got the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And if the judicial branch is telling the executive branch you can't do this, then that's how it works. That's how government works. It's not like running a company where you just say, I want this, and then people do it as long as it's nothing illegal, or maybe it is something illegal, and then you don't get any pushback. But and actually, too, and something I didn't mention yesterday, apparently he when he made his trip to the border the other day, and he's talking to these Border Patrol agents and other people who are part of running the border effectively in border security, told them something like, don't let the courts tell you what to do. Allegedly, this is something he said off camera, after the media was gone. But he told everybody, don't let the courts give you a hard time. Tell them. A really weird comment. If he said this, and it's, again, there's as far as I know, there's no actual recording of him saying this, but they're claiming that he told them, if the courts are giving you a hard time, you tell them you got a direct order from the president to turn away asylum seekers and whatnot. And then, the Border Patrol agents were then told by their supervisors, well, no, you have to follow the law, and you can't ignore, if you ignore the court and you ignore the law, you put yourself in peril. You put yourself in jeopardy legally. So you have to do what the courts say, and we have to follow the law. So I thought that was a pretty interesting detail. Again, assuming that's true, if there's no, for all we know, Trump might have said something like, if it were up to me, you could just do what I tell you, but it's not, or something like that. There are examples, to be fair. I think most of the coverage and criticism of Trump is fair, but there have been examples along the way where you have a media that does kind of bend things a little bit to make Trump seem worse than he is. I think of the, to be fair, and I'm no great fan of Trump, as you know, if you're a regular listener of the show, but I remember, just as an example, when the media was claiming that Trump called immigrants animals, and then you watch the tape and it's like, well, he was talking about MS-13 gang members, and he was his typical inarticulate, ineloquent self when he was saying it. So you can almost see how it might not have been clear to somebody, but even some people in the mainstream media like Jake Tapper and Chuck Todd on MSNBC, kind of spoke up and said, well, wait a minute. Okay, we've kind of got this one a little wrong, guys. Everybody slow down. He was talking about gang members. He wasn't talking about immigrants in general. So I don't know. I'd like to at least see a written transcript of what he said, but I assume there isn't one. Anyway, so getting back to this. So U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is currently, quote, analyzing the value and efficacy of a new program that, if implemented, would again lead to the separation of immigrant families after they've been apprehended at the border, the first senior administration official said. The binary choice policy, as it's being referred to in internal discussions, aims to deter illegal immigration by presenting migrant parents who are caught crossing the border illegally with a stark option. They can remain detained with their children indefinitely while they await a final removal order, or they can release their children into a separate government shelter where other relatives could take custody of them. So those are the two choices. Now, so that's interesting, that second part. They can release their children into a separate government shelter where other relatives could take... Well, what does that mean, though, could take custody of them? Or other relatives could not, and then they just end up... I want to know more about that. I want to know more about exactly what that means. The senior administration official made a distinction between this binary choice option and the administration's prior practice of forcefully separating migrant youth from their parents at the border. The official said, quote, binary choice is different. That's up to the parent. That means we wouldn't be separating anybody. The parent makes that decision, unquote. Okay, well, I don't have a problem with that on its face. Hopefully they're making it clear to the parent what exactly is going on. and what the options are at that point. A second senior administration official confirmed the discussion, but said that officials in charge of immigration policy, quote, presume relatively few people would choose, unquote, the latter option, in which parents would await their removal order while in separate custody from their children. And I agree. I mean, I would also think that very few, so few, in fact, I almost wonder, and that's what makes me a little bit suspicious. I would think that so few parents would choose that second option. Why have it? And again, it's like I said, I hope everybody in that situation is having it very clearly explained to them exactly what's going on and the troops and the choice that they're making. Fred says Trump's version of Sophie's choice. I kind of had that thought myself, but I didn't say it only because that's a false equivalence. But I understand what you're saying. Okay, the same official said the policy proposal, quote, has not yet been brought to the White House for consideration for implementation, unquote, because ICE is grappling with, quote, serious resource constraints, unquote, that would hamper its effectiveness. And we have a call.
ICE is grappling with, quote,
turn down your radio,
Hello?
please. Hey, who's this?
Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Mike.
Mike Doyle, how are you, sir?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah. For a second I couldn't. You were cutting in and out, but
okay.
I can hear you now, yeah.
I have trouble with my Bluetooth.
Okay, well, wherever you are right now, don't move.
I'd love to see you do a show sometime. I'd love to see you do a show on the current Congress and how much work they're getting done for the people of this country versus their inevitable hunt to try to figure out something illegal on Donald Trump. Because we just spent a year and a half of doing nothing but you guys everybody warned us. The fake news, will you wait? It's Robert Mueller, and he's got the best team of Democratic guys. They're going to crush Trump. He's going to jail.
I don't know why
impeachment.
Yeah, Mike,
nothing.
I don't know why you lump me in with that. I mean, we have this conversation every time you call. You lump me in with, with the rest of the news and say, oh, you guys all warned us and everything. So we've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. I have said all along that I was skeptical that Trump directly colluded with the Russians. I've said it a million times because I don't believe he ever wanted to be president. So I don't know why he himself would be colluding with the Russians. And I've said that over and over again. But every time you call,
now it's on to the next thing.
But Mike, every time you call,
believe Robert Mueller.
Every time you
now
call,
we don't believe the Attorney General, and now we want this, that, and the next thing, and they're just doing whatever they can to hide the whole Hillary.
You don't want to see the report?
The whole shooting match that started this whole mess.
Mike, we talked about it before.
Nothing's getting done for the people of this country. That's the problem.
Nothing's getting.
The Democrats just don't want to do anything in Congress. They just want to look to try to find a problem with Donald Trump.
Well, Mike,
and let me tell you why
I thought you
wanted
to.
I thought.
Hang on, Mike. Can we have a conversation? Mike, let me talk.
I heard you talking about the story about.
Will you let me talk a little bit, Mike?
Donald Trump said at the border, "Don't listen."
I'm just going to let you talk.
Don't listen. Don't let judges stand in your way. And then I think at some point you said he even said that you have a direct line to the president. The gentleman, that question came up last night, and a guy on TV said a Border Patrol guy had mentioned to them that it's the courts that's stopping us. And making a joke, Donald Trump in jest just said, "Oh, you're going to let them stop you?" Like that. That's all it was. And supposedly that's one story. Now that's gotten blown up into he's telling people on the border to not listen to the court system because it's just, you guys are unbelievable. You think he really wants to separate people at the border?
Mike, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna try. Okay. Oh wow. I get to actually answer you this time. Okay, once again, Mike, you constantly take what I say and try to lump me in with everybody else. I sat here and went over that, and then what did I say? I want to know exactly what Trump said because I'm skeptical because there's no video of what he said, and I even gave a previous example about how sometimes his words are taken out of context, and yes, there are people in the media who occasionally twist what he says to make him look bad, and I even gave a previous example of that. So I don't know how you listen to my show and then you call in. Mike, wait, hang on. Let me finish that damn. The problem is I put it out there.
Yeah. Do you have any proof that was said?
Mike, you don't
you know how many
listen.
people listen to your show and now have gone down the road that, you know what I heard today on Matt Connarton?
Jesus Christ,
that
Mike.
Donald Trump told the people on the border not to listen to judges.
You don't listen to what I say. You don't listen to what I say. You hear half of what I say. I talked about it. It's already in the media, Mike. I talked about it, and I halfway defended the guy. And I said, I don't know if he actually said this, and I even said he might have been.
That at the end.
So what is the problem then? So why are you calling me up? So why are you calling me up and saying, well, now you're putting this out here? I'm actually defending the guy, and you're calling me up and saying.
My original question is, could you do a show sometime on just how much the Democratic Congress is getting done and things that they're doing to better this country?
I got to be honest.
That was my original premise.
Well, I don't really take requests, but I got to be.
I'd like to hear a show about that sometime.
As a civil libertarian, I don't necessarily want Congress doing a whole lot. You know, so I don't know what I don't know what you're looking for them to be doing.
That's what we all want. You're more of a Republican than you think. We all want them out of our lives.
I'm an independent, dude.
We don't want them.
I'm not a Democrat. I say it all the time. I'm an independent.
That's what you say, but anyway, it is what it is.
When's the last time I voted for a Democrat? 2008.
Yeah, I know. Good stimulus. Good show, though, as usual.
You know, Mike, I like talking to you, but I wish when you call, you'd let me respond to things without filibustering. You know?
Okay. No problem.
Because I genuinely like talking to you, dude, but I get frustrated when you say something and then I try to respond to it and you just keep going on to the next thing, which is a rhetorical strategy. I understand. You know, you make your point and then you're already on to the next subject before you give me a chance to respond to anything that you said. And believe me, you're not the only one who does that. I mean, you know, you've seen John Hopwood in here, but I actually like you and enjoy talking to you and would like to have a conversation. And I get frustrated when you do that filibustering thing. Take a breath.
Right. I won't do it. I'll try not. I don't do it advertently. Believe me.
Well, I try,
I get frustrated listening to all the things that are going well in this country right now.
Yeah.
I mean, right across the board. And again, I'm not going to filibuster, but you never talk. You rarely talk about them. Most of these shows don't talk about them. How good everything is for everybody. Things are going pretty well right now.
I've talked about it a million times.
But all we talk about is tax returns and Russian probes and.
I haven't talked about the tax return issue at all. And I've said I've said many times on the show, the economy's great, and if the economy continues to be great, I think Trump will win re-election. I say it all the time.
Oh, I do too. I don't think that's an issue.
That's been my standard prediction. But you don't necessarily hear the whole 2 hours of the show. But I get frustrated, Mike, because you call and you throw this thing at me like I'm CNN. Not that I think CNN is as bad as you think it is, but you know what I mean? You lump me in with everybody else, and I just don't think it's fair. But then when I try to defend myself, you just keep going. And I try to understand. I mean, I know sometimes when you're on the phone and you're calling a radio show, you can't necessarily hear everything I'm saying, but I just need you to slow down a little bit because I don't think it's fair to just, you call and you throw this stuff at me.
You don't have to give me I got it. You only have to tell me once. I won't do it again.
I
get frustrated and sometimes I ramble on. That's all.
I wish you would come in again sometime and hang out with me during the show.
I'd love to.
Because it's much easier to talk
come in
and
have
person.
Brett on the line and just have a good discussion about what's going on in the world and just the simple stuff.
No, I really because I enjoyed that. And like I said, I like talking with you. And it is much easier to do it in person because in person, when you can see the person and you're not on the phone, it's just, I'm not trying to discourage you from calling. I'm just saying.
You can just give me the finger and tell me to shut up. Be a lot easier.
No, I was very.
All right, man. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to ramble on. Good show as usual.
That's all right, Mike. All right. Thank you for the call. All right. Bye-bye. No, I try to be patient because I know that people call. Like I had that problem. Jeff Cassell had to apologized to me once because I got really frustrated with him because he called and he just kept talking and and I couldn't get in. But it's like the thing I get frustrated with Mike about is, and like I said, I like Mike and I want him to keep calling, and I want anybody who wants to call. But when somebody calls and they just talk and it's like, well, wait a minute, let me respond to that. I want to have a conversation. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I genuinely like talking to him. I think Mike's a great guy. He's probably going to be on the morning show. I think he usually goes on the morning show on Fridays, and he's great on the radio and everything. But, yeah, Michael Alber put in the Facebook live chat in quotes, "you people." Yeah, well, that's the thing, and I assume Michael is referring to what Mike Doyle says when he calls and he says, you people just talk about this and all you want to do is rag on Trump and this and that, and and it's like, don't lump me in with everybody else because that's not fair. Do I spend a lot of time ragging on Trump? Yes, I do. I also try to give him credit where I think it's due. I certainly talk about how good the economy is. I've made my prediction many times on the show. I say all the time, and I still really believe it. If Trump survives the Mueller probe, and it looks like he has, and if the economy continues to be strong, I think he's a lock for winning re-election. I know Fred disagrees with me on that. I think Fred thinks Trump's going to lose. I actually don't, because like I always say, too, all Trump has to do is convince everybody who voted for him the first time to vote for him again, and they most likely will. Fred says, here, Mike, here is a list of what they have done. So, Fred, Mike won't see it, Fred. Mike is, if I'm not mistaken, Mike is not on Facebook, so he won't even see this. But that's the other thing, too. It's like when somebody says to me, let me put it this way. I'm not someone who thinks a quote-unquote productive Congress is necessarily a good thing. It depends on what they're doing. If they're doing good things, great. But oftentimes, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but politicians, lawmakers, elected officials, sometimes they do a lot of things that aren't good. Now, you can take each individual thing, and depending on how you feel about it ideologically, and or how you might feel about that specific issue, you might, opinions will vary on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing or a neutral thing or whatever. But I'm not necessarily, I'm someone who thinks that sometimes gridlock is actually all right, because sometimes when there's gridlock, maybe there are things that should be getting done that aren't getting done, but also maybe there are things that shouldn't be getting done that aren't getting done either. If there's, if you have enough people in office who have some pretty nefarious ideas. So for me, when somebody talks about a productive Congress or an unproductive Congress, it's like, that's not really a talking point that I'm interested in. I don't care if Congress is productive or unproductive. I care about, if they're barely doing anything, what are the few things that they are getting done? Or if they are doing a lot, what are those things, and in what ways are they screwing us over, because I do have a strong libertarian streak in me, and I don't, I don't necessarily think that Congress doing a ton of things is a great thing. But Fred did post this link for anyone else who wants to see it. Like I said, Mike Doyle won't see it. He's not on Facebook. But that's quite a list. I mean, by the way, I do think typically in a typical Congress, I think Congress generally does a lot of stuff that we just don't notice. There's a lot of bills are passed that either, nobody in the mainstream media is going to talk about because it's just not particularly interesting to talk about some bills, or, some things that aren't, just are kind of mundane or whatever, aren't, the big sexy issues. Or plus, there's only so much that the mainstream media can cover at any one time before Americans' attention spans begin to kind of fail them. So anyway. But where were we? I kind of lost where we were. Oh, I was talking about I was doing the transgender thing, wasn't I? Or were we on this other thing? Oh, the family separation. Yeah, that's what it was. It was like, because not to keep going back to it, but, I try to be very fair. And I said, because this is the thing that, one of the things Mike wanted to talk about. I said, I don't know if Trump actually said this. I don't know if it was taken the wrong way. I don't know if he was making a joke. Like I said that. I didn't, and then Mike says, well, you put it out there. Well, it's already out there, dude. How do you think I'm seeing it? I'm the one trying to be fair to the guy. I'm not going to be Fox News and go the other way and defend him, but I'm trying to be fair. And I think I am fair. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's your old pal, Fred.
Fred Boenig from the dailyripple.org. How are you, sir?
I love your show because the best part of your show is Mike Doyle for me. I got to tell you, it gives me the most entertainment.
You don't think I was too hard on him, do you?
No, I'm a radio guy like you. I get it. I mean, yeah. I've given you a hard time about letting people just ramble on without a pause to let you do your show.
Yeah. Well, there was a specific. There was a specific individual. I remember you had made a comment to me about. We'll just.
Yeah, well, that's okay. No, it's not. And I'm just saying sometimes it's okay to just say, look, this is a conversation, not a monologue.
It was John Hopwood, by the way, for anyone who's wondering.
But John and I, we love each other at the same time as we both disagree with each other a lot.
Oh, I know. Well, what's funny though is you and he ideologically match up much closer than you might think, but he sometimes he just likes to be very contrary. But although
I know he likes to do radio.
Although on
he knows you need a foil
on immigration, though, I think he is genuinely a conservative. But other than that, I think he probably matches up with you ideologically pretty closely. But
on the transgender thing, what I was going to say is we have a writer that works for us, Bryn Tannehill, and she has a new book out. Everything you wanted to know about trans, but was afraid to ask. It's on the Daily Ripple. It's quite a thick book, and I just find that I'm glad that they're going to allow the people that are currently serving. There's Navy SEALs that were transgender. I mean, this is not about who's tough and who's not and who's brilliant. I've met so many transgender people now just from our, being in Washington and being at all these different events. And they're all great people. They're all hardworking. They're all, I wouldn't want to get in a fist fight with any of them.
Right.
And, but the thing is, this is all about, Trump thinking that because he needs the evangelical vote.
Oh yeah.
So this is one of the things he's promised them, and that's why he's trying to do this. It doesn't. Rand has done the studies on this. It doesn't change anything. This whether they're transgender or not. I mean, there's already been all the studies on it, but they're just doing it so that because he needs the votes. Because without the evangelical vote, he's not getting elected.
Well, what's I was just going to say, Fred, what's funny about this is I had actually forgotten about this for a long time because Trump, he made that tweet, which was a couple of years ago now. It just seemed to come out of nowhere. I think it was on a Friday afternoon. I think we were going into the weekend. And then, and then it sounded like
to distract about some other news story.
Exactly, and then it sounded like Mattis was kind of slow walking the whole thing because he was blindsided by it. No one had warned. I don't think he told anybody. I think he just did this, and then I just kind of stopped hearing about it and stopped reading about it. And then for a long time, I thought it was a dead issue, and I thought they had just I thought the administration maybe had kind of forgotten about it, but well, apparently not.
It's another case of white male. I'm afraid of anything that is not white male. I mean, they're afraid of homophobic craziness. I think somebody said it best the other day. They said, I know it was Buttigieg. He said, look, to Pence. He said, look. Don't take it up with me. Take it up with my God. I didn't make me the way I am.
Ooh, that's a good line. That's good. I like that.
I'm just being me. And he said, at one point in his life, he would have done anything to not be gay.
Yeah.
But now he's like, he's accepted it. And I mean, he's married. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
Again, it's this crazy religious belief system that has nothing to do with Jesus. It has nothing to do with the teachings of love. It's about fear and all that. It's just sad.
Yeah. No,
that's why I like that
agree.
song, "Talking Leviticus Blues." I think that would be. That's why I like it, because it's exactly right.
I opened with that yesterday.
Right, and it is. It's people believe this book that they believe in, but they only believe in the choice parts that they want to use for their argument.
Right, exactly. I know. Well, and they're very hyper-focused on that one thing, too. They're so focused on that one thing. It's incredible. It's like they really...
Shakespeare had something to say about that. He said, he thinks he protests too much.
Yes.
Well, I'll let you go, but I'm sure glad Mike called in. I always enjoy what he does. It makes me smile to realize. I had a conversation with a woman today at the compost place, and she said, well, I try to win over these Trump people. I said, no, don't do that. They can believe whatever they want. You're not going to change them. I said, you're never going to change them. That's because of the people that they are.
Oh,
I said,
wait. Well, no, go ahead and finish what you were going to say, but then I just have something to counter that with. But go ahead.
Well, I say, they have to have an epiphany in their own life to change those kind of things. So your argument of logic or that is not likely to change that at all. But there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of young voters who have no idea. I just say go out and register to vote.
Yeah.
Vote.org. Get these kids to register. You outnumber them. They can believe what they want. You just got to outnumber them.
Well, what I was going to point out, though, because to be honest, Fred, I think you're broadly correct on that, but because we have a listener who is an exception to what you were talking about, I do just want to point this out and give her props. Rhonda Ostrowitz Favero, you may have noticed her in the Facebook live chat. She was, I forget if it was yesterday or the day before, she was in there and she was talking about how she voted for Trump. She was a Trump supporter, but she has come to regret that. And is no longer on the Trump train. So there are.
What was the thing that made her regret it? That's what you need to find out. What was the thing that changed her mind?
Yeah,
and it probably was an epiphany that it directly affected her life.
She did make a comment, and Rhonda, if you're still in there, feel free to address that now. But she did make a comment about, she didn't want a dictator. She felt that Trump was behaving like a dictator, and that's not what she voted for. But Rhonda, feel free to expand on that if you're still in there. But yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'll let you go, but thank you for another great show.
Oh, thank you for the call, Fred. Appreciate it very much.
All right. Talk to you soon, boss.
All right. Take care, man. Bye-bye. All right. That was the great Fred Boenig from thedailyripple.org. Hello to my old friend Bill Stephanitis, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. I worked with Bill many, many years ago. Okay. Yeah. Rhonda says that's it, Matt. Yeah. The dictator thing. Let's see. We are almost out of time. So I might play that. How long is this song? Oh, yeah. Rhonda had sent this song called the DEA song by Ken McKim. So we'll play that in a moment. I'm anxious to hear it. Rhonda had also commented, cherry pickers, referring to, people who, people cherry pick what I've always said about organized religion and Christianity specifically is it's more political than spiritual, right? People cherry pick what they want out of the Bible to suit their ideological proclivities. So, if you're if you're a conservative and you're really freaked out by the idea that there's actually gay people in the world, well, hey, there's something in the Bible for you. Right there in Leviticus, you can just cherry pick that one thing. And like I said, they're very hyper-focused on that one thing. Rhonda also said, many bills folks don't know about, some so unbelievable, such as vegan meals for prisoners. That's referring to what I was talking about earlier. you don't necessarily always want Congress doing a lot of stuff, because not all of it's necessarily going to be great, especially, by the way, if you're a Republican and you've got a Democratic Congress in control, you don't want them to be very productive. And if you're a Democrat and you've got a Republican Congress in control, you don't want them to be very productive. So I don't know that that's necessarily a great barometer how productive Congress is. But so we're going to get out of here with that. Mike Doyle, if you're still listening, I still love you, brother. And I do hope you'll come in again live in the studio with me where we can talk face to face, because we did that once before and I very much enjoyed it. We actually did agree on some things. We disagreed on others, but I thought it was a great conversation, and you're always welcome to call. You just gotta let me get in there a little bit too. That's all. And if you missed any part of today's show, it'll be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. Thank you to everybody in the Facebook live chat. Thank you to Mike Doyle for calling. Thank you, Fred Boenig, for calling. Let's see. Thank you, Jenny, for being on. The Ghost of John McCain, Dave Ridley, both real and virtual. And we will leave you with this, the DEA song by Ken McKim. And I'll talk at y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.
My friend Kimmy has CRPS, and so does Joey. It's quite a mess. There's Molly with her lupus, too. It's so much worse than any flu. Amber has ulcerative colitis, and Mary's got interstitial cystitis, fibromyalgia for poor Julie, and cluster headaches for yours truly. So many chronic conditions pain opioids can relieve. But on that subject, the DEA just refuses to agree. It's the DEA. They know what's best for you, no doubt. As much as you might scream and shout, they just don't listen anyway. The DEA must get their expertise from Reddit. Who the hell would give them credit for anything they have to say? There's syringomyelia and myelomalacia for when your spine's up to no good. And then there's stiff person syndrome, yes, where you think your limbs are made of wood. Pulmonary fibrosis attacks your lungs, so breathing's not an easy thing. Crohn's disease inflames your bowels with all the pain that can bring. Peripheral neuropathy feels like you're always walking on Legos. Trigeminal neuralgia feels like someone cut your face open with stilettos. So many kinds of chronic pain are helped by taking opioids, but you tell that to the DEA and they just get really annoyed. It's the DEA. They know what's best for you, no doubt. As much as you might scream and shout, they just don't listen anyway. The DEA must get their expertise from Reddit. Who the hell would give them credit for anything they have to say? The DEA, they treat your pain like it don't matter. They really wish we cut the chatter and quietly just fade away. The DEA, they know so much more than your doctor. No matter how you scream and holler, they want to take your meds away. The CDC says that more than 23,000 people die every year because of bacterial infections that are resistant to all of our antibiotics. That's a lot more than supposedly overdose on opioids every year, and potentially much more deadly, like Spanish flu deadly, if we don't stop prescribing antibiotics like Skittles. But no, instead of addressing that, let's focus our attention on restricting access to the very pain medication that gives chronically ill people enough.
IPMNation.com.